Okay, folks, it's part G. We are doing application and analytics big data overview. And this is Jeffrey Fox, and we're nearing the end of this overview. And here we'll just look at some aspects of this transformation I stressed at the beginning. And of course, AI is the core part of both the transformation and presumably people's approach to it. And a lot of people, this is just some comments on how things are done in industry. There are lots of systems, from libraries attached to systems like Spark to these companies, SAP, SAS, which have the machine learning libraries. And these are, I would say, the old world with old machine learning. This is not the way things are done in these industries, which are really at the bleeding edge of transformation. And the deep learning just gets better answers, and they have to add GPUs to their systems, and that's why their traditional systems are probably not very satisfactory. And then we have, well, today TensorFlow and actually Caffe and things have been replaced by PyTorch, and Microsoft's cognitive toolkit didn't quite make it, and MXNet, which is the Apache version, is also not so successful. Theano is still living in there, but I don't think it's competitive with TensorFlow and PyTorch today. Those have such a rich set of capabilities, and for modern deep learning, you actually need that because it's pretty highly customized. Because although the general idea of layers and building a network from components is well understood, you're now doing it in a very much more sophisticated fashion than you used to do it, and the older systems just don't cut it. And well, this is a rather small slide, but it's a big important. So, in my opinion, in the next few years, there are going to be more changes in the way industry is conducted than in the last 100 to 500 years. And we can look at those transformations from different points of view. This was a course I gave last spring. And we have the core technologies which are driving the change. We have new industries, effectively, like the internet industry, invented over the last 25 years. And then we have more interesting, because it's not sort of pretty amazing, is how traditional industries are getting transformed, how commerce is moving online, how cars are becoming self-driving. And as we keep stressing, cloud computing and deep learning are the technological drivers of this revolution. Here are some industries of the of the new category and the technologies which are making this happen. So we have the digital transformation, which was actually what was stressed just a few years ago by Gartner. It is now AI transformation. It's sort of interesting to look, say, at Microsoft. It used to be, I don't know, a mobile computing driven industry, but now it says it's AI driven. We have, of course, big data itself. We have cloud computing. We have the software engineering and the data engineering. We have the edge computing. We have the network and the communication revolutions, 5G. We have the Apache big data stack. We have the logistics and company infrastructure being reworked. You just look at what it takes for the Amazon to deliver things so efficient. It's this amazing revolution in the package delivery industry. We have something which may or may not make it, augmented and virtual reality, and we have deep learning with the convolutional networks for images, the sequence-to-sequence networks for speech, and all the other things being done in deep learning, which combine these and other ideas. And then we have these new industries, the internet industry, the Zoom industry, the Facebook industry, the search industry, the cybersecurity and growing industry. We have smart homes and smart cities and robotics. These are all new. But the old world is still there, and it's just getting remade totally. Computing is just changing to clouds and edge clouds. Transportation is being remade into the mobility industry. We have ride-hailing, we have drones, we have self-driving, we have electric. We have a whole new industry which is managing transportation and mobility. And of course, we have travel, construction industry, space. These are all being remade as specialized examples of the transportation industries. We have retail stores and e-commerce, and the switch from one to the other. I already emphasized with GE how smart machines are coming along. Every machine in the world will be connected to the internet. Plus, we're going to be building digital twins of everything we make. So that associated with anything made, there was a computer simulation which describes it. Agriculture and food are being changed by these industries. We have satellites and drones observing the crops, and the data from those drones is going through deep learning networks, and drought and pests and things are being identified. We have new ways of getting homes. We have new ways of staying places, as room hailing, as Airbnb. Banking and financial technology totally changed. There's huge amounts of money going into the fintech industry, which is financial technology, and it's rechanging insurance, mortgage, stock market, Bitcoin. Health, well, that's dramatic. Deep learning for pathology, to deep learning for COVID, finding new drugs, to personalized genomics, to remote surgery. That's all being driven by this revolution. Unfortunately, we have surveillance and monitoring. Some of that is actually good, responding to disasters. Some of it is not so good. We have energy, where solar, where renewables are becoming more important. And actually, it's sort of interesting that COVID has actually emphasized the new approaches to energy, because actually the original old energy is got a bit whacked up because people are driving less. For science, we have more data, better analyzed, and deep learning is the new version of applied mathematics. Sports, sabermetrics is the analysis of baseball data. That is being remade with all the analyses which allow you to automate the choice of the right pitcher to bring on in the 11th innings or whatever it is, and they swap in a new batter, then you swap in a new pitcher chosen by your deep learning algorithm, which is effectively running a recommender engine to recommend which pitcher to use against which batter. And entertainment is being changed. Esports is coming along, and there's gaming and everything. But streaming video is dominant. We have news and fake news and claim fake news, and advertising is being remade, and it's all amazing. And plus, most importantly for you lot, probably, they're jobs, which are enabling this transformation. Here is some plots from Mary Meeker, the internet trends. This comes from 2016, and it points out, and even in those days, when I started this course in 2013, I kept asking the students, will MALs still exist? And in the early days, at least, people thought MALs would still exist. I'm not so certain that people would be so certain today. Shopping malls do seem to have a little bit of a problem. They're not a growth area anyway. And this shows how actually commerce has changed from corner stores and general stores to supermarkets, discount change, wholesale clubs. We have had, on another point of view, we have these shopping department stores and shopping malls and superstores, and now e-commerce. Here is a sad picture. It's an old mall, 2014. The American Shopping Mall. This was an article which I have a reference for later somewhere else. Here is announcements of store closings from various well-known manufacturers, Barnes & Noble, through Aeropostale, Abercrombie & Fitch. Penny's this is an old plot. Penny's is even worse shape now than it used to be. And here we have some more modern data. About closings per year, and Red is the store closings, and the blue or black is the store openings, and the red is always bigger than the blue, and that's just inevitable. You're not going to, I mean, just there's little chance of, I mean, we know Sears has totally closed down, essentially. So I point out that technology is important because all of these changes are being driven by technology, and so now this means that leading edge computing research is aligned with application funded by the activities of billions of people. So this allows huge investments in core technology, and that was never true. When I started doing computing 50 years ago, it was not core. It was nifty and interesting, that's why I went into that area. But it wasn't, in this case today, these large companies, I mean, Amazon is now a $2 trillion company, I think. It's solely based on these modern core technologies, and yet it's battling it out with Microsoft and Samsung and Huawei and other people. And so they have to pour money into everything at the leading edge, because otherwise their competitors will do better. And just a 10% improvement in, I don't know, the time you take to process a user request, that's the difference between being number 1 and number 10. Here is a slide I often use, which is a bunch of headlines in 2017 about AI and the importance of companies. And these are just headlines. Google, Twitter, Intel, Apple, and rush to grab AI startups. Google, Facebook, and Microsoft are making themselves around AI. This is why this is I put together for my AI first engineering. These are AI first companies. Here's Google as the full stack AI company. Bezos from Amazon saying AI to fuel Amazon's success. Microsoft says that AI is the ultimate breakthrough. Tesla has a new AI guru which says that AI will help cars teach themselves. Netflix is using AI to conquer the world. Google is remaking itself as a machine learning first company, and so on. And here's GE. I point out to GE from that talk by Ru in 2012 about GE and the aircraft engines and things. They are working very hard to make use of machine learning in their traditional industry to have intelligent machines. Here are some plots from Google Trends, which is just meant to show you what's important. And actually, it's sort of interesting. If you look at these topics I chose here, security has actually got the most searches. Cloud computing as a search term is not so big. Big data is actually not so big. Computer science is not so big. AI is bigger than computer science. So in this, if we look up top, it gets a bit surprising. But if you look down below, this is perhaps as you might expect it. And here is some of these AI taken. That's the same one done on a bigger scale. And here we have some components, other components, Amazon Web Services. So whereas clouds doesn't give you a big signal, if you look at the actual clouds, Amazon Web Services, Azure, you have Docker, which is a key technology driving modern systems, Kubernetes, which is from Google, and advanced, if you like, a sort of collective Docker technology. These are very rapidly increasing. So here we have, this is our technology driver, summarized very clearly. AI, clouds in its various forms, and containers, and collective containers. Here's another plot on about, what's the problem? Everything is being taken over by machines. We're dead or useless or something. And we know this plot here from Mary Meeker points out that's this particular aspect of transformation has been said since the beginning of time. Here we have a news item: March of the Machines makes idle hands. Will machines displace men in the long run? Notice in 1960 it was men, not women. In 2020, will robots take our children's jobs? Here we have in 1940, 200,000 a year will lose jobs. A robot is after your job, but there is a counter to that. Yes, here is the number of jobs in the locomotive industry, the train drivers and things, and train engineers. But here is the number of workers in the aircraft industry. That's got a bit of a glitch this year, but it's still going up. And it's effectively so jobs are being changed. They're not disappearing, although you could argue about the quality of the jobs. Here's a game between agriculture is going down and service jobs are going up. And so the nature of the economy is changing, but still the number of jobs, and recently until COVID, was very high. Here is an interesting final plot on to motivate you, this is from Indeed.com. You used to be able to go to Indeed.com. They canceled it in 2018. You used to be able to go and find out how many queries of a certain type there were, and I did produce some nice plots at that time. Fortunately, I did it and kept the results because you no longer can do it. They obviously decided it was too valuable. This one here, I have some other ones. This one here compares data scientists, pretty small in that time, cloud computing, and computer engineering, which says that some core fields are in fact pretty good, and clouds have become a mainstream of jobs and what people want and what employers offer. So that's the end of this discussion of transformation. We have a few conclusion slides, and then that's it. Thank you very much.